chessboxing bout. Oh no. This is a title fight, as you can see by this beautiful belt. This final bout will decide the WCBA British middleweight title. Oh, it's exciting times, it's exciting times. So, first up in the ring, we have got a show pony for you. He calls himself the King of Persia. Yeah, he says, all kneel before his Anglo-Iranian monarch. I mean, yeah, be excited. It's gonna be good. He's a professional landlord by trade, and if he doesn't own you now, he says, he will soon. Oh, he's made himself some enemies there, hasn't he? He says, although he doesn't enjoy putting up your rent, he does enjoy the finer things in life that affords him. Oh! But he does have a bit of a show for you. So, let's bring him in. In the white corner, weighing 75 kilograms, standing at 170 centimeters, make some noise for Shayan, the Kingstonian Zarein Dolab! Here he comes! Keep the noise coming! Give it up one more time for Shayan, the Kingstonian Dolab! I mean, I promised you a show, right? So let's see if his chess boxing matches his dancing prowess. And next up in the ring for this title fight, born in Sheffield. Yeah, bit of love for Sheffield, come on. We have a chess boxer whose Irish heritage will be denoted by his awesome hair. His hair knows no boundaries. It's so luscious and gorgeous and red. You are going to be blinded by its beauty. This ginger bomber wrote his PhD on how crime was changed by the advent of the railway. Not only is he a luscious redhead, he's also brainy. Let's make some noise for a black corner fighter in the black corner, weighing 75 kilograms. Make some noise for Roger Cannonball Baxter! swishing that cape around, his luscious hair blowing in the breeze. Give it up one more time, Roger Cannonball Baxter! Okay, let's make some more noise for both your British middleweight title contenders, Shayan the Kingstonian Zarein Dolab and Roger Cannonball Baxter. Enjoy this bout. See you in a bit.
Jeez.
And we're back. God, this is going to be... I think we are. I think we're back. I mean, I think this is going to be an absolutely cracking fight, Chris.
I'm very much looking forward to this one. I mean, two superb entrances there, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I loved Roger's cape so much. It really brought back to mind memories of watching WWE and Gregory the Hurricane Helms, as mentioned to you of Mike, a singularly bad wrestler, and someone who I think Roger is going to thoroughly usurp with his performance right now.
Oh, but Shayan's entrance as well. I mean, I have never seen its like at the Dome.
No, not at all. It certainly was a lovely hat, and he sports, you know, an excellent beard for all you, you know, all you beard lovers out there. That is quite a sporting piece of facial hair.
Oh, I mean, and the hair, he's really gone all in on this one. They're two strong chess players. I'm looking forward to see if they can produce a spectacular chess as their entrance to the ring.
Oh, absolutely. Like Shayan's performance in his debut fight shows that he's a force to be reckoned with both in the ring and over the board. For him to earn a title fight so quickly is a testament to that. Whereas Roger is quite experienced at both, came from no boxing background, but has put so much effort into this. He's a proper chess player. He's someone who I played on the junior circuit. And with his gorgeous red hair and his luscious cape, I think a firm favourite for this man.
And we are off. Matt, what an entrance. Can the chess deliver the promise of those two spectacular entrances?
Well, it's a gloriously attritional start by Roger the Cannonball Baxter with the Arkle Genkin variation of the Caro-Kann defence. I'm sure
that old chestnut.
That old chestnut.
The old Arkle Genkin.
The number of times I've said that sentence, ladies and gentlemen, goes beyond belief. So, an interesting start. C3, a small positional error by White. White would like to play knight to F3 in this position, but that would actually be a bad move here, because if you were to do it, then Black can play his bishop to G4, getting a variation of the exchange French, a tempo down, but with the bishop outside the pawn chain. Bishop B5 is a great move, a really good move. Knight F3, a positional mistake. Bishop B5, the only way to make it work. Now, Shayan's having a think. Is he worried that if he takes, Queen A5 check will come, ostensibly winning the bishop? But actually, there's a way out of that, Chris.
Yeah, so this is some quite canny play here. They're playing around with different kind of transpositions to different openings here.
Heads up, Chris! A piece has been taken!
Oh, a knight for a bishop. It's a level trade.
And now Roger can already try and get that I don't like E6. E6 feels a little bit disadvantageous. You probably want to get the bishop outside that pawn chain first, but what a lovely neck crick by Roger. This is a man who is not going to be taunted. This is a man who knows what he wants and is going to get what he wants.
I guess he's going to play bishop A6. Is his plan, so he wants his bishop on that diagonal from A6 to F1.
And we have a check! We have a check! Bishop B4, check! Now White's light squares are, as Chris said, looking decidedly weak, but Roger has to defend his bishop first. I think defense is probably the best form of attack here. He swapped it off. We've got another piece off the board, ladies and gentlemen, but Chris, I think that was a little bit of a mistake.
Yeah, so he could just have defended it rather than swapping off the two bishops. I mean, it's certainly not a game-ending mistake or anything like it. It's just a slight positional mistake.
Knight to e7, another opportunity missed. So bishop a6 would have been a really, really nice idea there, stopping white from castling, because, ladies and gentlemen, you can't castle through check. So if that bishop had gone 2 squares diagonally, the king couldn't have moved, and then black could have coordinated his pieces to attack it. But he's missed that opportunity.
Yeah.
White has played a clever move there.
And for the uninitiated, that's what we mean by castling, the move that they both played to send. So it's the only move where you can move 2 pieces at the same time. The king gets tucked into the corner, the rook goes the other side of it.
So actually, previously, the most important parts of the position were that white had weak light squares and that the d-pawn was a target. Now, the tables have turned, and I think white's a little bit better, because white has that weak c6 pawn to look at, and the d4 pawn isn't so weak anymore, but that's the bell.
Some very canny opening play there. I was worried for a period that Shayan was going to get caught in that transposition that you mentioned. However, Roger missed a couple of opportunities, as you highlighted. Bishop, if you're not going to play bishop f5, you have to play bishop a6 there and keep the king in the center. Once he hasn't played that, he's now going to be a little bit hewn to the defense of that c6 pawn, which is looking weak and has the rook bearing down on it.
Yeah, I think Roger really needed to take a little bit of time there. They have a lot of time in the clock. They've got 9 minutes each, and I think he was very quick to. I think bishop b4 was an okay idea, but maybe less of a priority than bishop a6. I don't know. I think bishop b4 is a decent move. Bishop takes d2, kind of removing the tension in a position we had a real opportunity to seize an advantage. That was a mistake that I think he's going to struggle to come back from. I think had he played bishop a6, then white would have had a really, really nice position. As it is, sorry, black would have had a really nice position. As it is, white has a small advantage, and the chess is comparatively level, but black has really missed an opportunity to turn the screws and to make white's life very difficult.
And it looks like we're just about to go into the boxing. These are 2 all-action fighters, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they match up in the ring. Roger looking in the trimmest shape I've ever seen him, I have to say. The physical transformation the man has made since he first stepped into International Boxing Club is testimony to his work effort, and Shayan, a real fitness fanatic as well.
Yeah, I think that these guys are going to be matching the fitness levels of the first fight, which boxing-wise was definitely the highlight. So I think the chess is going to be very interesting, potentially a little bit attritional. Black trying to play for c5, white trying to prevent that whilst exerting pressure on c6. I think the boxing is really anyone's guess. Maybe Roger a slight favourite, but we will see.
Let's see how they start out. As we see most fights, they are feeling each other out in the initial stages. Roger taking the centre of the ring there. Shayan relying on his movement and a few early flurries, but he's having a bit of trouble closing the distance. But a good right there. Snuck a good right in past Roger's guard.
Like this feels to me like it's quite an aggressive start, but controlled aggression. Both sides are. Their balance is good. There's no flailing about. These guys know what they're doing, and I don't think Shayan's been boxing all that long, so that's pretty good fun.
It's very impressive. Both of them. Roger, if you take a look, he's doing well at saying side on, which is where you want to be. A lot of fighters this evening, particularly in the last fight, have tended to square up, which has 2 disadvantages. It shortens your punch length, but it also makes you a bigger target simply because you're presenting well. So if you look at Roger, he's doing quite a good job there of saying side on, leading with his lead shoulder and just showing a little bit less there.
Roger, of course, sporting a gloriously endured pair of shorts. Green as the St. Paddy's Day hat, and this has been a very impressive start by both players. This has the makings of a really high-quality fight.
Yeah, that's the quality jab there from Roger. You know, it's a good heavy jab that he put some effort into it. It landed well and rocked Shayan's head back.
Oh, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, this is quality stuff. I think no one's getting the other one out of there anytime soon, but it's good back and forth, and I think Roger's asserted himself quite well in this first round of boxing. But Shayan not shying away, you could say, from returning fire with his right hand.
Well, I mean, you've got a true way with words, Christopher. That is just ace.
Well, I mean, we have to thank Terry for stepping in there and giving me, frankly, the breathing space to come up with that one. I would like to claim I'd come up with it off the cuff, but there was a lot of preparation, almost as much that went into the transpositional attempt there. I'm all cut off from talking about the chess because it's warming up again in the ring. Yeah, Roger did take a bit.
Oh no, that's a real flurry. That is such a flurry of activity. Roger in big trouble, but he is... Oh my goodness me. He did well to survive that. That was seriously challenging.
It started with a big right that Shayan ended. You could see it had a visible effect, and then he followed it up with a sort of 2-3 combo there. And another right there.
Oh,
another right lands to Rogers.
He is going to be saved by the bell very shortly. He's skipping out the way. 3 minutes, a long time. Oh,
the big right
it keeps
again.
happening. It keeps happening. Roger really needs to survive this.
The battle must be coming. A couple of seconds late there, I think, with the battle. Thankfully, nothing landed. But that really exploded into life in the last 30 seconds of the round. I thought Roger was doing very well while it was controlled. Roger, good orthodox technique, just working with the jab and staying side on, and then suddenly rocked by the big right hand from Shayan, which he then followed up really pouring it on. Not once but twice. There was a brief respite, and then he came again at the end of the round. And really, we have to see now how this is going to affect Roger in the board. Can he adjust?
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a challenging one for Roger, because actually White's play is relatively straightforward here. You probably play something like knight b3, stopping the c-pawn from advancing, and then just maneuver. And actually, Roger's bishop on a6, assuming that's where it goes, is not doing a whole lot anymore. It's just kind of like biting on air, as it were. You move the rook to e1, and then you just play around it. So yeah. I think White's advantage in the chess is less significant than it perhaps ended up in the boxing. But it's not to be understated. Like, Roger's missed opportunity with the black pieces, not playing bishop a6 before castling, not defending the bishop on b4. I think that's going to come back to haunt him. And we're back.
Matt, what a round of boxing. Remind us of the situation that we have in the chess.
So, Roger had a wonderful opportunity to seize a positional advantage, but now White is perhaps taking control of this. So, queen b6, a good move. Eyeing up that weak b2 square. That pawn is going to be taken next move, but I think Shayan can stop that. If he moves his knight to b3, controlling the c4, and he's done it! What a nice idea. So that knight is stopping the b2 pawn from being captured, and Roger's main idea is to move the pawn in front of the bishop forward one square, but it's being controlled by the pawn on d4, the rook on c1, and the knight on b3, so he's trying to move that knight away, and a5 is a very classy move.
But why does Roger want to move that pawn? What's so special about that pawn? Why is it the key to the position at the moment, man?
Well, I think he needs to move that pawn forward in order to open up some space, in order to change the nature of the position, because if nothing happens here, it's a bit easier for White to maneuver. So, queen to c2, a good move. Now, knight to g5. Knight to g5 is an idea, and that would threaten checkmate, Chris. White might be craftily trying to bring the chess to an end really quickly.
So what I like here is that it looks like the play is on the queen side. It looks like he's playing against that weak pawn he mentioned. But actually, he might be lining up that kingside attack, like you said.
So the knight is attacked. He can either move the knight onto that nice c5 outpost diagonally opposite from the queen, or he can play a crafty move and play knight g5, threatening checkmate. Okay, he's played knight c5. It's calm. It's collected. It stops the bishop from moving, because if the bishop moves, then knight to d7 would win a rook. So a3, a good move. Roger is threatening to take the pawn on b2. This game is phenomenally exciting. Very classy. These guys are a true testament to the sport, Chris.
Oh, it's been the highest quality chess of the night, without a doubt. And what's really impressed me is Shayan's control of the position here. He's not rushing it. He knows he's got a slight positional edge, and he's just keeping Roger bottled up for now. But all it takes is one slip, and then Roger can turn the tables.
I think this is a very difficult position for Black to play here. So h6 is a useful move because it stops that idea, threatening checkmate, but Black is really close to running out of decent moves. I think Shayan can just keep building up some play, just play sensibly, keep an eye on the clock. So h3 doesn't do a lot, but it puts the question to Roger, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So rook a7 is a nice idea. It stops the knight coming into d7, so now the bishop can move. A really, really useful game by both sides, and I tell you what, Chris, I'm super impressed.
It's very smart maneuvering at the moment, and Roger is, as you pinpointed, trying to iron out the weakness he has in his position, which is that bishop that is locked behind its own pawns. Now he's got it out, and what he's doing is he's inviting a trade. He wants Shayan to swap the knight for that bishop.
So you need to be looking at the quality of individual pieces, ladies and gentlemen. So that bishop on a6 looks good because it's arrowing down the board, but really it's doing nothing. White can just ignore it, can just play around it, and that knight on c5 is so good. It would take 3 moves for Black's knight to attack it, so you can just leave it there. It's such a thorn in the position, so much so that White has time to throw his pawns up the board to put the question to the Black king, and I think White is going to be creating some pretty tasty threats soon.
Yeah, he's kind of locked the queen side and the centre down to stop the counter-attack. And now he's starting to brew it on the king side.
So Black wants to play knight to g6 so that he can take advantage of the weakness of the f4 square. The only issue with that is that c6 would be a bit weaker, and that is the bell. What a game we're having here.
That was a quality round. I really like knight c2 or queen c2 from Shayan, because it looks like he's just kind of playing against that c-pawn, but he subtly introduces the threat on the king side, which is quite hard as Black to see when you've been focused so much on the bishop and the c6 pawn, which is the weakness that you're trying to iron out.
So I 100% agree with you. I think White has played a very, very good game so far. A slightly bad opening that Black didn't make the most of, got a bit of an advantage. And yeah, with the boxing coming up, I don't know. I mean, I think both fighters looked a little bit unsteady, but what do you think? Shayan's flurry of activity at the end, kind of the key factor?
I mean, Roger controlled it reasonably well for 3/4 of the round, and then Shayan just detonated a bomb of a right hand on Roger's chin, and he really poured it on after that. And there was a point at which you thought it could potentially be a stoppage almost, but...
And we're back with the boxing.
Let's see if Shayan comes out with renewed confidence and brio following that first boxing round and how it ended. Roger's looking to re-establish the jab.
This is not a very sort of boxing intellectual statement. Roger's torso is looking very shiny, Chris. Sign of sweat, sign of fatigue, perhaps?
It is certainly glistening under the lights of the dome, and it shows how much effort he had to put in, and perhaps how much he was sweating about his position in the chess as well. But Shayan is certainly, you can see in his eyes, he's looking for the opportunity to land that right hand again.
I mean, I think we need a few more headshots here in order to really take the boxing to the next level. Otherwise both sides look like they might just kind of survive. Quite often in chess boxing, the chess is the dominant factor, and I think here the fact that White has this easy to play position means that Shayan has the luxury of taking his time with the boxing, and Roger really needs to take advantage of that, because I can't see White making a serious enough mistake for the boxing to not be a big factor for Shayan.
Yeah, we're going deep here on the chess, I think. And for Roger, what I would like to see is a bit more head movement here. He's shipping too many arrowing right hands to the chin. Shayan just missing with one there, but connecting with the hook. And Roger looks in a little bit of trouble again. He's been rocked by that powerful right hand from Shayan.
I've really admired Shayan's boxing this round. He looks so focused, so unflappable. Roger is not getting a substantial punch on him, and Roger is looking quite fatigued now.
Yeah, I mean, he's taken a lot of heavy punishment there. What I would like to see from Roger is either that head movement, which makes it a lot harder to land those shots, or I'd like to see him try and close the distance a little bit more and fight on the inside, because at the moment, with how it's panning out, with this distance that you can see between the two, it's Shayan who's able to control it and land the more powerful punches, whereas Rogers is not able to time his probably because he's so wary having been caught. You can see he's not even pumping out the jab very much now like he was to start with. At the moment, Roger is looking very flat.
Yeah, Shayan has basically taken every round so far. The last round of chess, well played by both sides, but White, Shayan with a dominant position, and Roger's tiredness here will surely play a factor in his defence of what is a very, very tricky game for Black.
I mean, we've seen several jaffers, as we've said now. Yeah, the danger zone is fast approaching for Roger, where he really has to avoid them. I would strongly advise that even if he doesn't feel he needs to take that much time for his first move when he comes back, just take that extra seconds to refocus, because again, that was really a lot of punishment in that boxing round. You can see him taking big gasps of breath, where Shayan, he looks very calm there, just taking a swig from his corner man. He just looks completely zen and in the zone, like he's just ready to go again. Whereas you can see Roger there really gulping in the air, taking big guzzles of oxygen, desperately trying to get that into his lungs ahead of the resumption of chess.
And I think from a chess perspective, Roger really needs to take his time with this first move. It's ostensibly not a challenging position. Yeah, I mean,
there's potential threats of checkmate looming. I mean, there's the pawn on h6, which has stopped knight g5 coming in. I mean, it's control of both sides of the board, which is why I really like Shayan's position.
Yeah, it's just very easy to play, and in this kind of multifaceted sport, you really want a straightforward position, particularly when you're doing well in the boxing. Shayan can just play and play here. Roger needs to take his time, and Shayan needs to take his time as well. And we're back. So, where we left it, ladies and gentlemen, White has a slight advantage here. He's doing very well in the boxing, and g6, an interesting but very committal move. Now, White has a couple of pawn breaks at his disposal. He can try and move his h-pawn to h5. He can try and move his g-pawn to g5. But he's played king g2, Chris. What's the idea?
So the idea there is that he's clearing some space for his rook that I think he's going to swing potentially behind those pawns that he's pushing forward. Shayan here, he's got some great control over the position. He's still got that queen side completely locked down. There are no breaks in the center. Okay, rook e3 is interesting.
Yeah, I think this is a very key round for White to show his mettle, to show that he really knows how to create a plan. White needs to come up with a pawn break here. Moves like bishop b5, unfortunately, it's going to take Roger a really long time to get anything out of this position. Now, if Shayan can move his knight, play f4 and potentially f5, then Black actually might have a bit of a struggle on his hands. What Roger needs to do is keep an eye on his time, where he has a minute's advantage, and not make any silly mistakes. Conserve his energy for the boxing, which he's not been doing brilliantly at with his opponent's extra technique, that extra energy, but there's still a lot to play for, Chris.
Yeah, so Roger also has to look out for the chance to get some activity. It's activity that is the problem. There's not really that much of a plan for Roger other than to hunker down and make sure that, you know, A, he keeps control of that pawn on c6 and doesn't lose it, which is fine. He's got the bishop on it at the moment. But the B, you know, as the attack starts to develop on the king side, he really needs to make sure that he's alert to that. Yeah,
I think Queen d2 suggests that Shayan's struggling to find a quick plan here, and actually Roger's extra over-the-board experience might be good. So knight h2, a really useful move. So now White can play that move f4, which he needs to do in order to get that pawn lever in, that necessary pawn lever, in order to break open Black's king side and possibly force checkmate.
Yep, it's the slow attack that's coming. So Roger reached out, touched his queen, didn't really know where he was going to move it.
F4, a great move by White, ladies and gentlemen. This has been slow, attritional chess, but very high quality here. Roger not really sure what to do. White, if White gets f5 in at the right time, now I think this could be very difficult for him to defend.
Normally it's not that advisable to move the pawns in front of your king, but the reason Shayan can do this is if you look at those pawns in the center, they're completely locked up against each other. So he doesn't have to watch out for any counter punches. You know, for Black breaking open the position and taking advantage of the space around White's king, he can just attack at leisure, maybe a little bit slowly, just rolling those pawns forward, but he's going to slowly lever open that position.
Got a minute to go. Oh, king to g3. I'm not sure about that, ladies and gentlemen, because now, if the pawn moves to f5, there'll be some lines where it can be taken back with a knight, forking the rook and king, but knight back to g8. I think Roger's flagging. And what will happen? What has to happen is Shayan has to make the most of it, but he's throwing his pawns down the board. And I know you're not as excited about this as me, ladies and gentlemen, but my goodness, we could be in for a hunting of a next test round. That's the spirit. That's the excitement we want to hear. And Roger's played f6. Oh my goodness!
He had to do that at some point.
But no, I don't agree.
That's some activity.
That's a very risky move. That's a very risky move. I think he could have perhaps prepared that a little bit better. And I think White is in the driving seat here with 8 seconds to go. So Shayan, don't rush this. There's no need to commit. There's no need to commit here. Queen h2, and that's the bell. Oh my goodness!
I still like f6 there. So I think otherwise Roger, he just sits there, and you see the idea behind king g3 was to play queen h2, h4, h5. Technically, from a classical chess position perspective, you don't want to play f6 and break it open while you're being attacked. But I just think in this chess boxing situation, particularly when you're getting, you're on the receiving end of it in the boxing, you just have to look for some activity, even if it's not the right way to do it, because otherwise he's either going to get ground down or knocked out, one or the other.
Well, but the thing is, though, I appreciate your point about White playing king g3 and queen h2 and so forth, but actually moves like rook e3, the shuffling with the knight, I'm not convinced that White is committed to any particular strategy, and I think given Black's time advantage, he'd be better not to play committal moves. He didn't need to play f6 immediately. White wasn't threatening any pawn break in that position. I mean, I agree. White is in a much better position.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But
without a doubt.
The problem with f6 is if White does nothing, Black doesn't want to capture an e5. I guess he wants to play f5 if he can, and then but he can't get a knight to e6 particularly soon, and g6 is going to be weak as well. Black definitely doesn't want to take on e5, and I think White might just take on f6, and then the e5 square is such a great outpost for the other knight, and those knights on c5 and e5 are going to be...
Black gets e4 though.
But the knight's covering it. I don't know. Maybe.
We'll return to
I guess we'll see.
This one has provoked quite the debate between Matt and I. And we will return to that after the boxing, which promises to be just as exciting. So in both rounds today, Shayan has really dominated with that right hand. And also landing some of the left hooks there. Big trouble here for Roger. Down on the board, down in the big overhand right there from Shayan. He's just landing at will. Roger has to, I think, do what he did in the chess, which is change the nature of the battle, even if it's not sound.
maybe, absolutely. I mean, Shayan's dominance in the boxing has become very apparent since the end of the first boxing round, and I just think fatigue seems to be as big a factor as technique here.
I think Roger has to do the counterintuitive thing here, which is on the receiving end, get closer to the man, take away the distance, make it a kind of fight in a telephone box, because at this distance, Shayan is just finding it way easier to land than Roger is. Again, though, it's very easy to land the jab.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Chris, you made about sometimes you have to do the counterintuitive thing if things are not on your side, and this feels like the kind of boxing bout that is only going one way, that slow grind, unless Roger mixes things up a bit. There is still a bit of time. We still have more boxing to come. But we're only halfway through this round. I can see Shayan landing a couple of big blows before the end is out.
I mean, Roger's managed to avoid the flurries, and he's not been rocked. He's landed a few heavy ones, but he has stabilised it a little bit. I'd like to now see him up the output a bit. Maybe... Oh, yeah, OK, hold on, that's good. Just hold on a bit. And a good left landed there from Roger. Simultaneous jabs, always a good one when they both land at the same time. And again.
There's a lot of staggering from Roger now, though. He does not look at all steady on his feet.
No, but I think he's more solid than he was in the last round. A jabbing match suits him.
Oh, OK.
A jabbing match suits him. It's a little bit slower. The power's taken out of it. And maybe maybe Shayan, the effort is just starting to tell a little bit because his output's gone down this round. He still looks just as focused.
Well, half a minute to go, half a minute to go. How has this round gone, Chris? What will you say? Will Roger go back to the board pleased with this?
Yeah, it's a lot leveler. I think with the boxing now, it's about who wants it more these last 20 seconds. Yeah, can really swing things to the judges as well. If you can demonstrate some aggression in the last few seconds, then that really sways it. And it's Shayan who is pouring that aggression on again as he has done at the end of previous rounds. A couple of concussive rights landing on Roger.
Yeah, I think Shayan has been an impressive character all throughout this bout, but Roger has survived. He survived long enough to have another round of chess, and I think it's going to be a key one, Chris.
I survived long enough for us to resume the debate, which I was very much enjoying, about the merits or lack thereof of F6.
I mean, I am with you on Roger needing to mix up the position. I'm just not convinced that F6 at that time was the way to do it.
Maybe not the best timing.
I think Black has problems on the queen side with the knight being so powerful on c5 and so unopposed. That knight is stronger than either of Black's rooks in terms of its contribution to the position. It's attacking e6. I think the issue with f6 is I think a lot of it rests on whether Black can follow up with f5, which would suggest that f5 would have been a better move than f6, putting the question, do you want to take on Persian? And I don't know.
So with a couple of rounds to go, Shayan, big favourite on both the board and in the ring. But we're getting to that point where one mistake can change it. And that position is starting to become a little bit more double-edged.
I think the thing is, though, if White makes a mistake, it's not going to be deadly to his position, whereas if Black does.
And we are back to the chess. Matt, we were having quite the debate about Roger's last move there. It sharpened up the position. He's making a bid for counterplay here.
Too quick. There's no need. Roger's got that extra time, and it is important that he puts some pressure. He puts some pressure on. But I think Black G5. Ooh, G5. Ooh. I don't know. So if Black plays F5 locking up the position. F5 locking up.
Oh, no. He's taken it. He's taken it.
No. I don't like that move at all. Well,
I agree.
I don't like that move at all. I think that Black had enough to hold on to G6. So now, if Black plays H5, he's done it! He's played H5, and Black's position looks a lot more solid. And what is more, that F4 pawn of White's is a bit of a weakness, Chris.
It's weak, and that F6 move in the exchange has opened up the file. So now the rook on F7 is bearing down on it. The other rook can swing behind it. Shayan's just carrying on with his attack as if it's not happened.
I think Shayan might become unpleasantly but surprised by the next flurry of moves by Roger. Roger has a legitimate strategy now. He can target that weak f4 pawn. He can try and swing his knight in to f5, which would be a wonderful outpost akin to the c5 square. And he's attacking the f4 pawn. He's attacking the f4 pawn. Oh, what a change. Now, it's so rare, Chris, that you have these jaffers, these key mistakes after the boxing, which are purely positional. But Roger has played some seriously classy chess. Now, if I were White, I would play queen to h3 here, attacking that weak e6 pawn.
Yep, counter-attack. Because you're not going to be able to defend that f4 pawn. I mean, you can, but not in the long run.
I think actually that e6 pawn is a bit of a factor. The bishop on b5 is contributing nothing to Roger's position. Shayan having a thing, but my goodness, Chris, Shayan is only down to 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock, and that could be hugely significant come the final round of chess. He's thinking, but his time is ticking away with that grim inevitability of certainty. Oh my goodness, he doesn't have time for this. He He needs to find a move. It looks like he's playing it. He's offering it, and he's done it. He's done it.
That's the best move. He counter-attacks.
That's the only move. It's the only move. Oh my goodness me. With 1.5 minutes to go, Roger has a big decision on his hands. So he can play rook to f5, blocking the attack. But then knight to h4. Knight to h4 would be a very serious move, and that would win an exchange, ladies and gentlemen. A rook for a knight, which would be very significant position, and Roger has to have a think about whether he wants to move a rook back to defend the pawn, and he's done it. He's done it.
Safe decision.
Classy chess. Classy chess by Roger Baxter. Knight to h4. My goodness me, that's a nice move. I like that enormously. So the pendulum has turned slightly. Black would ideally like to play knight to e7, coming into f5, but he can't. That e6 pawn is the dominant factor in this position. Something has gone wrong here, and these are the fine margins that chess games are turned on. What a game, and what a night, Chris.
I could not agree more, Matt. It swung one way, then the other. Roger was coming right back into it. But then with this knight h4, I mean, we often say a knight...
Oh no, he's played it, and the e6 pawn is dropping, and he's had a really significant blow. Knight takes e6, he's played it instantly.
And the kick, yeah.
Oh my goodness me, a clear advantage for White. Who can move his knight back to that dominant outpost. The problem is, White has 39 seconds, and Black has over 2 minutes. That's the bell. Oh my goodness me.
Word, back and forth. I mean, positionally there was a trade of mistakes there. Always difficult to handle that situation where you have the pawn breaks on, and as White you want to avoid it becoming locked up. Black had the chance to do that. He could have played f5, but would perhaps have been more opposite. But it actually worked out in his favor because there was the trade of mistakes. Shayan let the pawn exchange happen in a way that opened up that counterplay against the f-file. And then there was that key moment, Matt. I'd love to hear your views. When Roger went back to defending the pawn on e6, when he could have said, okay, I'll ignore that one and play rook takes f4. Hard to work out, but what are your views?
Well, I think the issue with rook takes f4 is that knight takes e6 is check, and I don't think rook takes f4 is possible, unfortunately. I think it's a really interesting one. I think Shayan made a mistake in allowing the change in the nature of position, because he took what was a very advantageous position for White, where actually Black can no counterplay, into a double-edged position where White may have had a small advantage, but it's very difficult to play. Roger has blundered a pawn, but actually I think the significant factor is the time.
It's going to come down to time.
I don't think White is going to have a happy round trying to play that quickly. Anyway, back to the boxing.
Speaking of time, it is the extra 1 minute in the round, as well as the key factor here in the boxing, because it is a title fight. So 3 minutes in the round as opposed to 2. And Shayan again landing with those heavy right hands on Roger. Roger needs to do what he achieved in the chess, which is change the dynamic, because this is not working out for him. He can kind of suck it up, which is what he's doing. But that's really not the strategy that you want. You have to try and find a way of changing the geography of the ring to favor you somehow.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one in the context of the chess boxing overall, because it's perfectly possible that both sides are going into this thinking that they have a practical advantage in the chess. Shayan has clearly the better position, probably a winning position, but the time difference might be something that he's not taken into account. So,
and especially because it's double-edged. If we were down into a simple endgame,
yeah,
then the technique kicks in. But with the double-edged nature of that one, having less time to work out the complications, it's going to make a huge difference here. And Roger knows this, and you can see that despite the onslaught that's coming his way, you can see he looks a lot calmer than in the last round. He's just thinking, okay, boxing's not favouring me, but get through to this one. And even though the chess position is not in my favour, I've got the better practical chances.
But the issue seems to be that neither side is landing a significant punch. They seem tired. They seem really, really out of it. But the punches that are landing are not hammer blows.
I mean, Shayan certainly landing the heavier punches, particularly with his use of the right hand, whereas Roger's really, because he's on the defensive, Roger's using his right hand more as a blocking tool and relying on the jab. But yeah, no decisive blows yet on both disciplines.
1 minute to go, 1 minute to go. This is it. This is the key moment, because there is a very strong chance that we don't see another round of chess.
And Shayan, as he has done in previous rounds, he's really waiting until the last minute to really start to pour it onto Roger. I think Roger, see, there you go again. It was glancing, but it landed, and another right hand. Shayan, you can see what he's doing. He's conserving a little bit of energy, and he comes on in the last 30 seconds. Roger looks ready to go, but he's just desperate to get through to that last round. Shayan punch out there. What a round. What a round. You know, hats off to Roger. I think he's lost every round, but he has shown guts. He has hung in there. He's also been soaking it up on the chess. So psychologically, to just hang on in there when you know that you're having the worst of it on both disciplines, and really just rely on time, because it's the clock. If he wins, it's going to be the clock that wins it for him. And that is a very, very brave strategy to go that way.
Yeah, I suspect that White took too much time after the rook moved to f8. I don't think he saw queen h3 was an option until after he'd used about a minute on his clock, and that was really key. If he played queen h3 instantly, then I think White would be have a clear advantage. As it is, the time difference is so great that I think Black, despite having lost every round of the boxing and the chess, I think he's going to win, because the clock is a big factor, and I think it will be the prevailing factor here.
And it's too unbalanced, the position, to just rely on technique, which Shayan has.
Yeah, I mean, White needs to find a way. I don't know, because if the knight moves back, the trade-off of queens will surely make it harder for White to get a quick checkmate. But it's difficult to see what else you do here. Otherwise, you're just in a self-exerted pin. Yeah, well, we will see.
Roger. And we are back. Matt, the clock is key here.
The clock is by far the prevailing factor here. Roger is in a dire position on the board, but White has got 30 seconds left. 30 seconds left, ladies and gentlemen. What happened? What on earth has happened there? What was that knight move? Oh dear, dear. Time is ticking down inexorably. 17 seconds, he's shaking his head. He knows he's won every round. From a puristic perspective, he has played perfectly, but time, he's blundered a piece. It's all gone horribly wrong, and Roger's taken it. Roger's better on the chest now. He is going to win this. Time is ticking down. 5 seconds, 4 seconds. Oh my goodness me, what a turnaround. What a turnaround by the Cannonball. I think this is it.
I think this is Muhammad Ali-esque. He's been on the ropes in the chess and the boxing, and he's going to win at the last.
Oh my goodness me, a classy move. Rook f7, he can do anything here. He could do anything here. I mean, e7's possible. Why not play it? He's done it. The rook has moved in front. No extra queen for White. He has just seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, jolly.
The time's up. The clock has run down. Roger at the last is won.
Roger Baxter is the British champion. And an elbow bump.
Let's bring it together, guys. Let's bring it together with your ref here. Go to Ronaldo, please. Let's announce the winner properly. Come on, Shayan. Let's do this properly. On a time penalty in the chess, the winner is Roger Cannonball Baxter! He has won the British middleweight title! Show off that belt, sir! Roger, let's grab a quick word. How are you feeling?
Wow. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out tonight. This is sport. It's been so good to me, and you are the sport. Everyone here, everyone who couldn't make it. Thank you. And thanks to Shayan, because, my God, my eye is going to really puff up. He plays such a good game. He was like... It was tight.
It's a really classy game of chess.
Yeah, really tight, really positional, really, trenches. And yeah, I was just quicker. That was all. It wasn't better, it was just quicker. Ooh.
A humble win for the Cannonball. And let's also make some noise for our King of Persia. We're going to have a couple of words with you, sir. First of all, how are you feeling right now? You put up such a good fight in that chess and in the book.
That's it, phenomenal in loss. We're going to be here back. I want to say thank you for my supporters there. To Richard over here, came down from Wellingborough, and our dancers, Jessica and Oka over there. Thank you also to Gav for organising. Thank you everyone for coming. Woo!
You put on such a show for us tonight. I hope you enjoyed that at home too. Give it up one more time for our title bout for Zarein.